Welcome back to the Lazy Money Machine podcast. Graham, how are you doing?
Fantastic, Eric. Yourself?
Very well. Again, today, reviewing the internet audio world and seeing what we can find and what we can use as inspiration for this podcast. We're taking audio clips from the internet or articles from the internet, and basically Graham and I will discuss them and give our own opinion about it. And today we have another audio clip, so let's listen to it.
If we could celebrate every breath that we take, because nothing's a guarantee. If we could celebrate the breath and the exhale, which is being alive, without, oh, my car won't start. Oh, geez, the cat dropped dead. Hey, I think I need a lobotomy. There are things that are very, very important in life that we don't think about, And one of the most worrisome things that I went through for years is you're freaked out about your past. You're worried. You're scared to death of the future. And that's all you're thinking about. But the now doesn't exist, And I think that's a grave mistake that we make.
The now doesn't exist. Johnny Depp.
I thought so.
Johnny Depp, and I always think when I listen to this guy, he's either on, 6 glasses of vodka or he hasn't slept very well. Either one of the two.
I think both. I think all of the above.
But again, this is somebody, I think, that behind the sort of slow talking attitude that he always portrays when he's doing interviews, this guy has it together, I think. And this is a bit philosophical. It's maybe a bit out of the realm of what we normally talk about. But I love this. I love the fact that, he says that, we're worried about, the past, we're scared about the future, and we forget to live in the now. What's your view on this?
Isn't this the challenge we're all struggling with?
Absolutely.
I mean, how many, even every, I know, for example, you've got people like Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now.
Yes.
It just shows whether you believe it or not, or respect it or not, there's a real outcry for our generation, isn't there? To escape those, the terror of the past and the future, right?
Right. Can you elaborate on that? How do you see that?
Well, I don't know. And, we're under a lot of pressure from ourselves and from outside to worry about what comes next and to, what has happened in our past. That just to stop. I mean, if you were to just stop, when was the last time you just stopped and did nothing, right? And just enjoyed the moment. I mean, these moments are so few and far between. It's tough, right? I mean, we live such busy lives. I know it's nothing new, but it's taking a toll, isn't it?
What's the toll that it's taking, you think?
Well, let's think about it. If you're like, people close to me live normal lives, which are, they get up in the morning, first thing they do is they shower, they're out of the house, they go to work, they work until, evening, they come home, the only moments they get is they slump in front of the TV and just, whatever's on the TV, they vegetate in front of the TV for an hour and then go to bed. Mm-hmm. Where in that's day, day in, day out, repeat that cycle forever. And then Saturday and Sunday, they're too tired to do anything. Where in that do they have a moment just to stop and enjoy something, like something simple, like the food, like, I don't know. Where do people eat their food these days when they're working? They eat at the desk. Where's all that gone? That time just to sit with somebody and eat something and enjoy. Isn't that what we're talking about? I mean, that's sort of, these are the things that make quality of life, aren't they?
Yeah, I don't think we take enough time for that, yeah? Or especially now with handphones and with distractions everywhere.
Doesn't that piss you off?
Yeah, it pisses me off, but I'm also guilty of it at the same time.
Right, we both worked in the mobile industry for 15 years, right?
Well, it paid my salary for a long time, so...
And the same with me. But doesn't it piss you off when you go to a meeting or you sit with somebody and they're on the phone and you're talking to somebody and they start flicking through their phone?
Yeah. It shows them that, or it shows you that the time with you is less important than, the time with their 600 Facebook friends, right?
Right. But isn't the driver then that people fear missing out because something might be going on Facebook and I just want to check?
Well, I think that it's that, and I think the multitasking has become the norm, and I think that's one of the problems. So we all think that we can do all these things at the same time, driving and texting, checking our Facebook while we're in a meeting, or whatever else we do when we're in a meeting or with other people. But it takes away the being present, and I think we, including myself, we're slowly losing the skill of being present. And I think that's really something good to revive and learn again.
Now, I know you do presentations, and I've done a lot of presentations in my time in business. I remember going into a room, let's say I was presenting with a team. It could be of 4 people. It could be 400 people in that room. But even if I was to walk in and it was 4 people and we were going to spend this 1 hour, these people have traveled to be there in this room, in that time, that moment. So they made a sacrifice and an investment to be there. And they're in that room and we're talking for an hour. And that time, some of those people would, by default, again, it goes back to like it's what they're used to, multitasking. They would get their laptop out and sit at the desk and stare at you from behind the laptop screen whilst you're doing the presentation. You're doing a presentation, they're checking their emails and they're doing work and so on. And I didn't get it. I used to think, look, close the laptop, sit, let's be together and connect for an hour. And how powerful that is, right? I know that some people may think, oh, I've got to get this email out. But that can wait. It's like we talked about earlier in the other podcast about ring fencing your time. Mm-hmm. Do you think people are scared? I mean, why? Why does this happen, right?
I think, to be honest, it's the new addiction, and I think I'm as guilty of it as many others. And the addiction to peek into other people's life is just taking over the being present with your current life. I think that's really what's happening. You're peeping Tom into all your Facebook friends' lives, and you're trying to check out what's going on there. And in the meantime, you forget that you have your own life right in front of you, whether that's work, whether that's a presentation, whether that's, family dinner. I might have spoken about this before. We have a rule at family dinner that all the phones need to be away from the table and off, including my 2 teenagers who also have a phone now. And it's a fantastic rule. And it guarantees us that whenever we're eating, which is usually the time of the day that we're sitting together at the table, there's not going to be any distraction of phones. And the funny bit about it is my kids eat very slow, which I'm always like, come on, man, I can eat in 10 minutes. Why can't you? Why do you have to take an hour? My youngest sometimes takes, I think his record, I think, is 3.5 hours for dinner.
Wow.
A couple of years ago, but so normally it takes a while, but now I think this is great. The longer it takes, the more, and usually we're all there, right? The exception was today. We're recording this evening time, Jakarta, so I had a short, quick dinner, but normally we're just there around the table, chit-chatting, listening to stories. And you just have to force this out of your life. I think you have to force the distraction out of your life, and you have to really, learn again to be present. And I think Meti, my wife, proposed to go on a meditation course, and my initial reaction was no. And then I started thinking about it. I think, actually that might be a really good idea, actually, to go and do that. Again, if there is clearly something missing, then, let's find a way to learn it. Let's learn the skill. Let's pick up something new. And I think, I'm going to do it. And hopefully, it will reconnect me, I think, with some things.
Good for you. Yeah, how important that's going to be. It's tough, isn't it? I think you have to set rules. I think the only way you can deal with this is to set rules, because this technology, smartphones and email, and we're guilty of it because we were key to making that industry happen, right, in our local areas.
Yeah.
But I think the key is that you can't just sort of say, okay, yeah, I'll manage it, I'll do less of that. It's impossible, because it creeps into your life, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it's like, I mean,
everywhere.
if you were to put bottles of wine around your house all the time, chances are you're going to drink more wine because it's there, or chocolate. If you leave chocolate out in the kitchen on a plate, I guarantee it won't be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because it just creeps into your life. It's an addiction. It's a temptation. You have to make rules. I think your rule with a dinner table is great. I've tried things with mixed success. I mean, I think one thing that everybody should do is to ban mobile phones from the bedroom.
Right.
That sort of just checking emails before you go to bed and checking your phone first thing in the morning, that can wait. I now charge my phone in another room. It's work. I'm working on my wife, but she's coming around to it, right?
Well, we can shake hands on that one.
Yeah. There you go. But it's intrusive, and you've got to set rules, otherwise it doesn't happen. You've got to ring fence what's important. Like, the bedroom, or that time to relax, or that time to chill with the family in the dinner table, right?
Mm. And there's one other important thing with this. I just remembered when you were talking about phones in the bedroom. I find that it's not only phones but also computers. If I work, I usually go to sleep at around 10, and that the only reason for that is because usually I wake up at 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning. So I need to. I feel like I'm better when I sleep 8 hours or 7 hours a night. That's why I usually go to bed pretty early. But if I have an evening like today where we're working, well, it's not going to be 10 o'clock before we're done. But when we're working late, or when I'm working late, if I go to bed straight after the screens, so after I finish my last emails, my last work, my last editing of the podcast, whatever it is, if I go to bed after that, my brain is like on steroids, still moving. And I really now found that I need to really decompress it for like an hour before I go to sleep. And again, it's also being more present, right? Being present in your sleep is also quite important. That you sleep, calmly and, without too much brain activity. It gives you a lot more rest than if you go to bed all hyped up and your brain is still fully active.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So do you have like a cutoff time? Do you have like a decompression hour or something, like a buffer between your last time of work and the time you go to sleep? How do you manage that?
I'm not disciplined enough at it yet, but what I'm going to try to implement is an hour or an hour and a half of reading before I go to sleep. Because a book is a lot less intrusive on your eyes because it's not lit. And I find myself behind on reading and catching new ideas. And that sort of calms me down. So I'm trying to either do that or, that's actually the only activity that I can think of to sort of calm down before I go to bed. But it works. I know that if I do it, it really works for me.
It's a buffer, isn't it? You're training your brain as well to expect what comes next.
Do you do the same?
That's key, isn't it? I have rules. Again, find that's the only thing that works. I mean, the important thing is the rules I set for myself. I try different things and, go with what works and drop what doesn't. So for me, one of my rules is I don't take any work into the bedroom, which is easy to do. It's easy to sit there with a laptop on the bed because it's comfortable. But I kind of think that the brain knows what's going on. So if you then associate the bedroom with work, that can create stress for you, I think.
Yeah,
you want to create this place of peace where you can just go and just completely recharge. So that's one rule that works for me.
Yeah, that works really well. I mean, one other thing, I always have a piece of paper and a pen next to my bed. And it sounds a bit funny, but sometimes what happens is I go into the bedroom and then all sorts of things pop into my mind. And if I'm always worried that I forget about it, or it could be work related, it could be holiday related, it could be whatever, right? It could be, for some reason, sometimes things pop in my head. But if I then have a piece of paper and I can write it down, then at least I know it's there the morning after, right? I can just work on it then.
You got it out.
You got it out, and it's being noted and recorded. So
Yeah.
it's gone. You don't need to keep thinking about it and thinking that you shouldn't forget, because the next day is another day to work on it.
You reminded me of what I need to be doing. I used to do that, but I've forgotten.
That works really well for me. Just a piece of paper and a pen, and then you can note down what it is that you're planning on working on the next day, and it gives you a good start for the next day. There's a few things that popped into your head that you can work on the day after then. But I think we started off with being present in the now, and we ended up talking about all the distractions in life. I think the lesson is, let's make sure that we still realize that life is being lived with the people around you and in the presence of the people around you, and not so much in the presence of all your digital buddies on the social media. And as long as we keep reminding ourselves to focus back on that, I think then we should be okay. What do you think?
Yeah, create rules. Don't be afraid to create rules for yourself. I think that's the key.
Yeah.
Create space, and to create space, you have to be firm. Be firm with yourself and create boundaries in your life. So you know what to do. Is this a time to work, or is this a time to relax?
Yeah, very important. We'll see you guys in the next episode of the Lazy Money Machine podcast.